Well, guys, well, we don't have a lot of time, so let's get right into this thing. I'm sure you guys have heard New Orleans Saints had a little bounty game going on, as they're calling it, a pay-for-performance type of thing where they're looking to maybe injure players or knock players out of the games. Let's start off with you, Chance. What do you think?
Well, I think Greg Williams, who was the defensive coordinator for the Saints from 2009 to 2011, is definitely going to be facing some suspension and definitely some fines, along with the 22 to 27 other players that will either possibly that are still in the league have a fine or suspension. Now that he's with the St. Louis Rams, I hope that doesn't affect him too much with their defense struggling last year and hopefully him picking it up this year. But this is a disappointment to the NFL with all the rule changes that they've made to protect the players.
I'm going to have to agree with you. I'm interested to see what the NFL will do with the suspensions and findings and that. But overall with the situation, I have a problem with the intent of hurting other players. But I am okay with the fact that, yeah, I'll give $1,000 whoever gets the first interception out there, whoever returns it for a touchdown. I'm okay with that. With the intent of hurting people, that's not cool at all.
I have to agree on that sense. I think that, hurting another player, intentionally hurting another player is something that's just, it's wrong, it's dirty, it's not how players should do it. The GM of the Saints, he was told to discontinue it and chose not to. And I think that that's just a statement, a disrespectful to the NFL, especially after Goodell and how they've been putting all these penalties and fines on just head tackles because of trying to protect the players. And I think the way that they did it in 2009 against the Vikings, and even the cheap shots that they had against Favre,
my guy,
and then also some bad shots against Warner. You don't go into a game intentionally hurting a player, and I think that that's something that needs to be recognized.
Yeah, and that's definitely not right because I had looked at some sources earlier, and Jonathan Vilma had offered $10,000 to take out Brett Favre in the NFC Championship game. And I mean, doing things like that, I mean, I know you want to play hard, but I mean, it's just not right to try to intentionally hurt people. But
you guys hit it all right on the head. When it comes from the coaching staff and the GMs down, that's where I have problems with it. I know I'm kind of skipping into the time for the next topic here, but I want to give you guys an analogy I heard. It's like a classroom of kids that are gambling, but the teacher's the one that's bringing in the dice and the money. The school's going to have a problem with the teacher doing that more than the students. So, Chance, I liked what you had to say on this one. Give you the 5 points. But we'll move from a sport that just ended here in football into one that's just beginning. The MLB. New playoff changes, the first time since 1994. We're going to have an extra wild card in each division, a one-game playoff. Callie, tell me what you think about that.
I really like it. It gives more prize value for whoever wins the division, and then along that, it kind of gives those edge teams a chance at the playoffs. And I like what they're doing. I think those wild card games will be a good spectacle, good for the MLB. That'll bring them in some money. I'm excited for it. I like the decision.
I think it's a really good idea as well. I think that the only real con of it is that there's also they can have a third place wild card team that comes into play. I don't like the idea of having a third place, but if you think back to last season, that would have been the Rays and the Red Sox having a one-game playoff to see who made it into the wild card, and I think that would have been extremely exciting. And I look back to when the Twins and the White Sox also played their one-game playoff to see who won the division, and that was probably one of the most exciting games I've ever watched, even as I come from a Twins fan, and they lost to the White Sox. And I think that with that, it'll do a lot. It puts more pressure on winning the division, and I think that that's an important thing as well.
Randall, real quick, and then Chance, you were running out of time here.
Yeah,
Absolutely fine.
I mean, I'm not a huge baseball fan, but I heard about this, and I don't know. I think that it gives teams more of a chance to get in the playoffs and gives you a fair chance. But I think it's good for baseball and good for the league.
I think it's going to be good for the Brewers for the fact that the Brewers are going to have a very strong division here in the NL Central, and I think the NL Central will be the strongest of the NL divisions this year, right behind, I guess, the NL East. But with the Brewers being so strong and having great players, I think it'll help them a little bit more. But it also takes, I think, a little bit away from the top four teams that actually do make it since 1995 when it first started.
Yeah, Chance, good point. Mentioned the Central there, but I got to give it to Braden with all the stats there in the playoffs. We loved the last day of the regular season last year was probably the most exciting day in baseball history. So Braden, you got the points there. Moving on, let's head out to the links where Rory McIlroy, with his win at the Honda Classic on Sunday, became the #1 ranked golfer in the world. But there's a guy you might know named Tiger Woods. He also shot 8 under on Sunday, a 62, his best round on a Sunday of his career. What's the bigger story here? We'll start with you, Braden.
I would say the biggest story in this situation would have to be Tiger Woods finally hitting his swing a little bit and finally getting his swing back in the sense. I think Rory's been obviously everybody's kind of been anticipating him climbing up the rankings, and he's stepping in. It's almost a scripted story where he's just stepping in and filling Tiger's shoes. But with Tiger finally crawling back and not letting him just easily take the number one spot, I think that's going to put a good competitive edge on it.
Yeah, I definitely think Tiger Woods is the bigger story. He shot the best score of a single round in his career he shot a 62. And, I thought that he knocked down that eagle on the 18th hole was pretty clutch and on his behalf. And, but Rory McIlroy, I have handed to him. He had that great 8-foot putt for birdie, and on the 14th, 15th, and 17th hole, he had those par saves. So I think he well deserves it.
Tiger Woods has been in the news since he was 18 years old, people. The big news is Rory McIlroy becoming number one, of course. You guys, he's one of the youngest to ever hold that spot as the number one. So yes, he well deserves the number one spot and all the publicity from the weekend. Yes, give your credit to Tiger Woods, who of course came back all the way, but still finished 2 strokes down to Rory McIlroy, just as young as what Tiger Woods was when he, started up in his prime years. I like Rory McIlroy becoming the number one golfer in the world.
Yeah, we're on the new news here. Roy is the new story. He's 22. Tiger Woods did it when he was 21, but they're coming in with the same thing. 6 worldwide wins, 1 major title. He's definitely the number one story. He's been in since turned pro in 2007. He's definitely the number one story here.
Callie, I couldn't agree with you anymore. Tiger is old news. We're sick of hearing about all the scandals and things he has going on. It's nice to see some new fresh blood in golf to kind of more stardom here, and we need things like that. So moving on, another thing that just ended here was the NFL Combine in preparation for the draft here. Randall, let's start with you. What did you think about the Combine?
There was a lot of players that performed well and raised their draft stock. Like I know there were a few defensive backs like South Carolina's Stephon Gilmore ran a 4.44, and LSU cornerback All-American Morris Claiborne ran a 4.47. But being a football player and defensive lineman, I think the most impressive would have to be the D tackle from Memphis, Dontario Poe, who hit 44 reps in the bench press and ran a 4.98, and he's 346 pounds. So
yeah.
I think that's impressive.
Boy, yeah. Randall, you took the words right out of my mouth. That's exactly who I was going to say, Dontario Poe from Memphis, who really stole the show behind one guy that I will key in on now because you already took the guy I was going to say. I think Robert Griffin III really helped his stock as an NFL quarterback. People are now trying to figure out, does RG3 actually have the guarantee factor that Andrew Luck does? I think his stats that he put up at the Combine will help him out, but Andrew Luck still the number one pick.
Yeah, coming from the Combine, we'll go into the draft, and that's what I'm really interested in, to see where these top 3 picks will go: Andrew Luck, RG3, Matt Khalil. I'm interested in seeing what if Indy will take Luck, what the Rams will do with their pick. Will they trade away and go for some wide receivers? That's what I'm really interested in seeing. I think that would be a smart choice for them since they're going to stick with their quarterback. So
I have to say that undoubtedly RG3 is the talk of the Combine with his 40 time, and he proved that he's looking like a very good professional quarterback. And the main reason is because he's upped the Rams cards that they have in their hand right now. There's going to be a lot more people